Okay, everybody knows me. I'm Richard Archie, C. Richard Archie. I'm the West Tennessee Director of the Tennessee Firearms Association, and I want to read you a list that I have made. These are the representatives and senators from Tennessee that have stood up, put their names on a piece of paper, and sent it to the governor and to the attorney general and told them that what they're asking to do right now to continue to stand with their foot on the neck of your rights is incorrect, because that's what they're doing. The Attorney General has for 2 years taken your tax money and he has used it to argue against your Second Amendment, God-given, natural, inherited from your progenitor's rights, and they've done that with their face hanging out and you looking at it. So here is the number of people from the House. Jay Reedy, I talked to him first. Jay said, I'll do it instantly. Monty Fritz did a great job because he got a number of other people to sign on his well-written letter. Michelle Renaud joined that, and Michelle's great. She is absolutely a warrior for us. Tom Stinnett signed it. Rush Bricken. Deborah Moody, bless her heart, Deborah's always with us. Todd Warner, who's another one of those warriors that don't care what they think of him. He's going to go ahead and speak what's the truth. Jody Barrett is here today. He signed that letter as well. Jerome Moon, my friend Bud Halsey, that's been taken from his position on the Criminal Justice Committee and set aside because he dared to speak the truth and send a letter to the folks that are his bosses in Tennessee. Kelly Kiesling. Kelly's carried stuff for me before. He and I spent about 12 years trying to get a bill passed that would keep our seniors from being aggravated stalking, and Kelly stayed with me the whole time. Clay Doggett is another guy that's very intelligent, and it took him a day or two to get his letter written, but they told him that they weren't going to file that appeal for about 2 weeks, and so that wasn't what they did. But I read Clay's letter, and it's as well done as anything I've ever seen. And Kip Capley sent a letter as well. Now, on the Senate side, Brent Taylor from Memphis, who's trying to make Memphis matter, and they down there shooting each other for something to do. On 9/01 this year, they actually had a person shot in a restaurant, and they had a bunch of fights out there, and our Attorney General has got the brass on his face to say that unless he challenges this lawsuit that we just won, people will be able to walk down the middle of Broadway in Shelby Farms staggering drunk with a shotgun. That's the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen. That's the cat that we're paying the most money in the state of Tennessee to be a litigator, to be a person. And by the way, understand, he does not represent your rights. He is not interested in what you think. He doesn't care. He's supposed to protect the state. So what you got to do is to get the state to understand that you're in charge of this. Paige Wally signed a letter and sent it in. Ed Jackson, my senator, I might have had something to do with that. And Joey Hensley was gracious enough as well. And I'm going to tell you this, Joey has always stood up for us every time I've ever called him. He's looked at it to make sure that it's correct, and then he signed on and he's done the right thing. That's 4 senators out of that whole bunch. Now, I talked to Mark Pody. I didn't call him direct, but let me tell you the reason that we didn't have more senators putting that in, because you people didn't get off your dead hind ends and call them. Now, I'm telling you the truth. You're sitting around expecting me and John Harris to carry your water bucket for you, and I got to tell you, I'm 71 years old, and there's parts falling off of me right now. I ain't going to be able to keep this up, and I can't work everywhere. You people need to start picking up the slack because you're not doing your job. Under Article 1, Section 23 of the Tennessee Constitution, you are supposed to instruct your representatives. If you're not doing that, you're failing in your responsibility to your children and your grandchildren, because these people are taking the Constitution and they're throwing it in the garbage. The highest officers in the state, the governor and the attorney general, don't care what the Constitution say. They come in and make up a bunch of falderall and then try to sell it to the simpletons out here that are not reading the Constitution, they're not looking at the statutes, they're not taking their job seriously, and if you don't get off your dead butts and get in a fight, you're going to be slaves worse than you are now. We live in a state, in the 1780s, we had leadership. all right? People like John Sevier, William Carroll, Carroll, Mr. Coffey, David Crockett, just to name a few, and then you go back and you talk about Alvin York. All of these riflemen at that point were carrying their personal rifles, and they showed up when the call came out. There was no government. The general mentioned this a while ago, when the fight started and when it counted, it was volunteers. If you look at what Thomas Jefferson said about the people from the land that would become Tennessee, he said that bunch of rough and rowdy individuals showed up over there, and if they had not, we would have lost. It was the turn of the tide of the revolution. People who just simply wanted to be left alone. They weren't militia, they weren't army, they weren't government. We didn't have none of that. John Sevier mortgaged his farm to supply beans and fat back to the over mountain men to march over and to shoot Bulldog Ferguson. Because folks, if they're coming after your liberty, if they're coming after your children's future, it may be necessary. We are required as citizens to keep the government in awe. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is to have the weapons necessary to keep them afraid of you. All right? Here's the deal. Y'all remember the Battle of Athens over there? Have y'all heard about that? You had a bunch of guys come back from World War II, and the sheriff was stealing the ballot boxes and knocking them in the head and taking out their mustard money. And so what they did, they broke into the National Guard armor, got them some dynamite machine guns, and they blew up the courthouse. They didn't sit on their dead butts. They showed up. So that's what I'm challenging you to do today, is to get off your dead hind ends, get off that couch. You got that little hole knocked in it down there. Move. Get on the phone, find a computer, send your representatives what you think about this, and I want to close with this. Article 10, Section 1 of the Constitution of Tennessee says that every person who is selected either by election or appointment, and that's everybody from the governor to the dog catcher, is required before they proceed to business to take an oath to honor the Constitution of the state and of the United States. So when you look at the job description of the Attorney General, it says he's just supposed to support the state. No, what he's supposed to do is couch everything he does with the Constitution. If you don't know what the Constitution requires, he can tell you you can have 13-year-olds walking into ball games with AR-15s. It's a bunch of hooey, but if you don't know the difference, you can't call him out. Educate yourself, get ready, call him out, and join the Tennessee Firearms Association in doing the work that's absolutely necessary. Thank you.